the Alter Rebbe was in prison, one chassid was dispatched to go to a tzaddik, Rabbi Yitzchak, to ask for a bracha. He came to Rabbi Yitzchak, Rabbi Yitzchak asked, what was the Alter Rebbe's mother's name? He knew the Alter Rebbe's name, he didn't know his mother's name. He said, I forgot to ask before I left. There was no instant messaging, there was no text. Where are you going to go back and find out?
Wow.
He said, don't worry, we'll open up a chumash. They opened the chumash, it said, Vayar, ki yesh shever b'Mitzrayim. There is shever. He said, he saw shever b'Mitzrayim. Shever means Shneir ben Rivka. And that was correct. The Alter Rebbe's name was Shneir ben Rivka.
He was able to see that?
Yeah, Rabbi Yitzchak was able to see it by just opening up a chumash.
How do you see that? Like, what's the connection?
People like Rabbi Yitzchak know. They know. Yeah.
They have the built-in.
There's a different internet.
Built-in internet. Their own internet.
Yes. A lot of data.
A lot of data.
They're online.
The Chassidim said that there was in heaven a big complaint against the Alter Rebbe. The Sultan said that this is not fair. Things have to be hard for Jews. The amount of chayas the Alter Rebbe gives in Avodas Hashem, everything is done with pleasure. Now there's nothing left for me. The Chassidim said that's why the Alter Rebbe, when he came back from jail, the first letter that he wrote, that we have here published in the Igeres HaKodesh, is to ask Chassidim that every year Yutas Kislev they should split up the whole Shas, like we're doing here for the 10th time in Beis Menachem Mendel, that they should split up the whole Shas. And also writing about that Alter Rebbe in many Igeres wrote about giving tzedakah to Eretz Yisrael. So these are things that there isn't such a great pleasure in. You have to finish. It's already a week before Yutas Kislev. You have 25 daf, 20 daf to do. It's not, so the Alter Rebbe wanted to do some things that the Sultan shouldn't have any tainus, to give his chassidim some jobs to do that are, the tough chores.
In demand
yeah, some tough chores that the Sultan won't have a tainus. The second letter that is published in the Igeres HaKodesh of the Alter Rebbe is the letter that he wrote, as it says in the top, Acher b'Yosei miPeterburg, after he came back from Petersburg. So let's learn the Igeres, because it's today's Chumash. It's the beginning of today's parsha of vayishlach. Yaakov sends messengers to his brother Esav, and they come back and they say, oh, Esav is coming, and he's coming with his men. He is still a hater, and he's still Esav. And Yaakov is in distress. And Vayida, Vayetzer loy, and he talks to the Eibishter and he asks the Eibishter for success. And one of the psukim where he talks to the Eibishter, he says, Katointi mikola chasadim mikola emes. I became very small from all the kindness and all the truth. Ki b'makli avarti esayar den azeh ve'ato yis l'shnei machanos. Rashi explains, what was he saying? What was the meaning of the words? Rashi says that he felt very katointi mikola chasadim. Even though the Eibishter price promised him twice. He gave him twice a promise that he will guard him. So why is he scared? Do you believe in the Kodesh Baruch Hu? Or don't you believe? If you believe, why are you scared? If you don't believe, why are you praying? So what was he scared about? So Yaakov was explaining why he's scared, even though twice he had Avtochu Shmarticha v'Choloshetela, and another time it says Ve'eye imoch. Hashem promised.
Conditional, isn't it?
Oh, so Rashi answers. Number one, Rashi says like this, that he was scared that Katointi I became Katointi Meloshin Katnos. The promise was like this, but I chipped away. It was very big. My sichos was as big as this, and I chipped away at my sichosim. Katointi mikola chasadim mikola emes. My sichosim became small. The Gemara says, Lo'olam al yamed odam atzmei b'mokim sakona A person should never stand in a place of sakona and say, they're going to make a miracle, they're going to save my life. They never do that.
Right.
Even if a person has sichos. And if he does it, and they save his life, they chip away, he has 10 pounds of sichosim, he loses 2-3
Yeah, but he can
pounds.
replenish it.
Okay, but why replenish it?
No guarantee.
Build up more. Why replenish
But
it?
sometimes you need it.
If you need it,
Yeah.
do it.
Do it,
If you don't need
Then
it,
it's good. Then it's good.
my Zayda told me his father was sent by the Rebbe Rashab to spend some time with a chassid, the Rebbe Abba. I forget the last name. He lived in Germany, and the Rebbe Rashab wanted that this chassid, I forgot the city, that his chassid should bring a little warmth and that in Germany to those Yidden. No one knew what he really does. They thought he was a rich merchant. Once a year he would leave to go do business, to buy more diamonds. He was going to Lubavitch to spend 3 months with the Rebbe Rashab. He would come back and he was all... But people thought he was a very wealthy man, and he was... people so he was a wealthy man, so people give kavod to a wealthy man. So he was very wealthy. They would come to his house, and he would come for meetings, and he would give over chassidus. He was a big chassid of the Rebbe, and the Rebbe Rashab sent a few talmidim, 10 talmidim of the yeshiva, to be by him for a few months or a year. So it was an advanced city. It was in Germany. They had the trams, like in New York. They used to have them before they ripped them out to put down the buses for the MTA.
Trolley.
Right, the trolleys. So the trolleys used to have Kingston Avenue. They still can't get rid of those rails, and on Kingston going up. They keep on paving. Those rails always come out sometime, So the trolley, and they have now a pizza shop at the bottom of Kingston Avenue. They have beautiful pictures of those trolleys going up Kingston Avenue. They have pictures of them building the subway on Eastern Parkway. So he saw the Baba on the other side of the street, and it wasn't a red light yet. Coming from there was a red light. It wasn't supposed to walk. The trolley was supposed to go, and then when the trolley goes, red light, green light, 1, 2, 3. But in the shtetl, in Lubavitch, and where he grew up in Minsk, there was no red light, blue light, 1, 2, 3. There was horse, cat, and dog, 1, 2, 3. There was no trolleys, and there was no red light. So he didn't, whatever. The trolley was coming slowly. There was a red
I
light.
can call you back because I figured out we'll talk.
Okay, good, very good. So the trolley is going slowly, and he sees it at Baba, so he ran over. And Baba said, never do that again. Wait for the red light. He said, the Gemara says that a person should never stand in a place of sakona.
Right.
Because if they do put themselves in sakona, they chip away at their sichosim. Which kind of sichosim do you think that we're talking about? If a person's life is saved, which kind of sichosim? It's a sichos that a person sometimes is totally not willing to do something. Lethargic, lazy, not willing, for whatever reason. Not interested. He breaks himself and he does it Laman Hashem. How many moments like that do we have in our life? Not that many. So you want to trade in one of those moments just to get 1 second in the front of the trolley? Never mind. Wait for the green light. So here Yaakov Avinu said, even though I have 10 pounds of sichosim, but I'm scared that I used them up. I was so many times in harm's way. Maybe already nisma'u to sichos. And that the second point the Yaakov Avinu said was, not only that, nisma'u to sichos de chasodim v'emesh asisa lokach aniyori shema mi shehiv tachtoni nislachachti b'chet. Maybe also I'm scared that I was soiled with a sin.
Do we see where he could have been in his life?
What sin?
What sin? There's a question exactly.
Yeah.
Could that be the Yetzer
What
Hara
was it?
working on him to make him think that?
But why would the Torah record something so negative about Yaakov? And Yaakov, we believe, was a tzaddik from the Tanya with no Yetzer Hara.
So how could that be there?
So how could that be? That's the question.
Right.
That's the question. Good question. That's the question. So in order to understand this, let's learn the letter that the Alter Rebbe wrote. A letter right when he came out of jail, when his life was spared, and he wrote a letter based on this pasuk with a pshat slightly different than Rashi, but he also brings the words of Rashi. So we'll learn so we said Rashi pshat, we'll learn the Alter Rebbe's pshat. We'll see how the two pshatim go together. And obviously the main question is, how did he thought that maybe he used up his chusim? Okay, I understand he used up his chusim. 22 years with Lavan, you need a lot of chusim to stay alive. I get that one. That's simple. But that was not enough. He said two things. He was scared that he maybe lost some of his chusim, but that wouldn't be enough. Why? Even though the Gemara says that if a person loses the chusim, might not save his life, but Yaakov couldn't say that. Why? Because he had before the Haftacha from the Eibishter twice that the Eibishter will save his life. So therefore, that's why the Mizrachi and in the Chumash, and also the Marsha and the Gemara Brachas explains that's why Rashi says 2 points. Number one, the Smat Sichos, and maybe I chipped away 22 years or so many times my life was in danger. But number two, maybe I sinned. Maybe I sinned. And we find that even if a person Ein Yisurim below oven. So even though if a person has a guarantee from the Eibishter to be protected, but if he sins, then the whole deal could change. That's why, because of the two things together, Yaakov Avinu was scared. The shaila is, what can the chait?
What's mikol emet?
Right.
What is that?
We'll leave that for another time. Especially in the Tanya, that it's funny that he quotes. He wants to save this. He writes a kochsad Mikola and v'chulu. Why couldn't he write Mikola Emes? We talk about it the mitzvah.
Well, maybe by the Maisa by Yaakov and Esav. By Yitzchak.
Why?
Maybe he stole the brachas.
He stole the brachas, but that was before the Eibishter promised him. So the chait from before.
Which pleasure Yaakov Avinu had? All his life he says on the suffering. Never had any pleasure.
Guess you have 12 shortim, there's a lot of nachas. This letter the Alter Rebbe wrote after he came from Petersburg. Pshat is from every kindness that the Eibishter does to a person, a person should be humbled very much from every kindness he gets from the Eibishter. Because kindness is the right hand. And what is the right hand from the Eibishter? The right hand embraces us. So whenever the Eibishter shows us a kindness, what is in fact happening? The Eibishter is really giving us a hug. So whenever the Eibishter is giving us a hug, what happens? So the Alter Rebbe will soon explain that there's an opposite effect. When the Eibishter gives a hug to a Jew, or if he gives lahavdel a hug to a goy. If the Eibishter reveals himself to a goy, hey, he wants all the cameras to roll. He thinks he's on top of the world. He's got a message to tell the world. He's a big man. The Eibishter revealed himself to him. That is the attitude of a goy. But when a Yid feels the Eibishter's embrace, the Yid is humbled. Wow, the Eibishter revealed himself to me. He's looking at the Eibishter. So therefore he feels small. The Goy, when he gets an embrace, he feels Hashem's embrace. I'm a big man. Bilam, exactly. We're the last two words of the third line from the top. There is the Eibishter shows up mamish his closeness in a strong way. So therefore, a person who is close to the Eibishter and is elevated higher and higher, has to be very humble. When I see the Eibishter, I feel far. Why? It says in the Zohar that everything in front of the Eibishter is as if it's nothing. So the diuk is kamei. the more you see the presence of the Eibishter, the more you feel your nothingness.
You can come to a feeling of gaiva too from it.
The goy feels a gaiva.
Even a yid can.
And Yid doesn't feel gaiva because the Yid feels I'm nothing.
He can.
He can
That's why
the
they
wrong
have to
way.
be that way.
Yeah, for sure. A Yid could also have
Look at me.
a mistake,
Yeah.
right? For sure, a Yid could. It's saying the attitude way it should be. That's a goyish. That's a shade meshade and uchroim. That's a goyish attitude. We all have a little goy. We all say in the morning shaloya zani goy, right? So we don't. This is the goyish attitude. Yeah, sure, we could fall into that trap and have that attitude. It's very easy to fall into this trap. But the truth is that it shouldn't be that way. That everything in front of the Eibishter is as if it's nothing. In Cain, Kol shu kamei yoser, the diuk in the words of the Zohar, whenever something is closer to the Eibishter and feels more Hashem's presence, so yoser kalo v'ayim ve'efes, feels as if he's nothing. And that is the right side of Kedusha, v'chesed l'Avram. And that's the attitude of chesed of Avram Avinu, not Yishmael's chesed. Sha'omar, Avram Avinu said, Anochi ofer ve'efer. And Avram Avinu said, I am like earth and dust. Why Avram Avinu saying it dafka? Because Avram is chesed of Kedusha. That means he feels the closeness to the Eibishter's embrace. Therefore Avram Avinu says, Anochi ofer ve'efer, dafka. Because he feels Hashem's embrace. Zu gam kein midosa, you want to copy it? See, get it, sakoidish ois beis. V'zui gam kein, the first words in the line is ofer ve'efer. V'zui gam kein midosa shel Yaakov. That was also the union of Yaakov Avinu. Now we understand. V'zui sisnatzal al yirosa mipnei Esav. That's why he excused himself. Why he's scared of Esav. V'loi dailoi b'haftochosoi. The Eibishter promised him. What are you scared? How could you be scared of Esav when the Eibishter promises you? And if you're still scared, why are you davening to the Eibishter? So he explained himself. And that's the way Rashi also says it. This pasuk is to explain why is it Vayira Yaakov Vayetzer. Yaakov is scared and he's in distress. Shema Yovev Yekani Eim Albonim. So he has to explain, why is he scared? Why is he in distress? The Eibishter promised. Therefore he says, Katointi. Why? Yaakov felt very small in his eyes. Because of his many chasadim. That's why the end of the pasuk, which the end of the pasuk it says, so what's the connection between the beginning? So the two pshatim Rashi's. One is that he said, when I went out of this land, all I had was a stick in my hand because Eliphaz stole all my money. So I had nothing. I was penniless, and now I'm coming back with so much wealth. The second pshat is Rashi, the opposite. Ki b'makli, I returned to this land. Nosa nesmakla beyardaim v'nifka. There was an incredible miracle, just like what happened to the Jews when they went out of Egypt. There was a bekiyas hayam, like happened to the Jews when they came in with Yeshua. There was a bekiyas hayardaim. So, what's the connection, the beginning and the end of the pasuk? So the Alter Rebbe explains, Ki b'makli, because I saw such a revelation of the Eibishter, I feel so small. I feel undeserving now for anything. Therefore, I'm not roi to be saved. Kamaimer Azal, as Chazal said, Shema, which is brought in Rashi, and it's a Gemara in Brochas, Dav Daled, Shema Yignam Achet. He was scared. Shenidme be'ein of Shechota. It looked in his eyes as if he sinned.
So he wasn't really scared for himself. He's really scared for his family.
But still, how is he scared? Why are you scared? Hashem promised him. He's explaining himself. Why? Because, so really the Alter Rebbe here is bringing his pshat, and he's also bringing the Chazal's pshat, Kamayim Chazal, Shema Yigrim. So one pshat in Katointi is, I feel small from all your chesed. The closer a Jew gets to the Eibishter, the more godly revelation, the more he feels small. And the pshat of the Chazal that Rashi brings is slightly different. Katointi means I used up. I had a schusim till here, a package of schusim. I used them up, and now they're small. Why? And because they were used up to save me so many times, and now I'm scared. Shema yigre machet. Okay. M'shein kein bezelo umazeh hu yishmol chesed klipa. The opposite of chesed Avram Avinu is chesed of Yishmol, chesed klipa. Kol shechesed godel hohoilech vegodel begoiva vegasas ruach veroichev liboy. He feels very big. And sometimes that the Yishmol is very generous. If you're subservient to Yishmol, for many years when Jews lived in exile, they lived better in countries which claimed to be the descendants of Yishmol, as long as they were subservient.
They were protected. They protected them.
Yeah, more than the Christians.
In Iraq.
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Right?
Yeah.
But as soon as
If they
the
got out of line.
Depending on who the
oh,
caliph was.
Second class.
Yeah.
as long as they're second class,
Right.
that's
Okay.
because they felt big. When Yishmael could feel big, he'll be benevolent. But when he's not big, oh, thank you very much. He's not big anymore. Oh, the sword comes out very quickly. Very, very quickly, the sword comes out. That's what they're screaming now. They want to bring back the caliphate. They are oppressed. Why are they oppressed? 350 million people. I mean, I tell you, if you went to a school ever, right, and you saw that there was 350 kids beating up one kid, and then you saw the principal came along, and he calls for a rally, and he reprimands one boy for being a bully. What would you say? Physically, 300, they could kill a kid. 300, they pounce on a kid. And there's one kid that's trying to... How could you understand that the whole world, there's 350 million Arabs?
A billion Arabs.
No, it's
living-
2 billion Muslims.
Yeah.
2 billion
More
Muslims.
than that. Much more.
More than-
I'm trying to give some... to it's like 350 kids to one. And they're saying that the Arabs feel hurt. They're oppressed. The Arabs really do feel oppressed, because that's the way Arabs are. The descendants of Yishmael, they have to be big. If they're big, they're benevolent. If they're not big, if they have a caliphate, they're not benevolent. I mean,
They have to be
But,
in
yeah,
charge.
that's
They're
the
not
way
in
it
charge.
is.
They feel
right. That's Yishmael.
second class.
What does it? They feel oppressed.
First.
So, this is the difference of Avram and Yishmael. Chesed of Avram Avinu, when he feels the Hashem's embrace, Hashem gives him money, gives him a good job, gives him good health, gives him good children, gives him a good community, gives him tranquility. He feels Hashem's embrace, he feels small. When Yishmael feels Hashem's embrace, he feels very big. לכלולוס אנשי שלומנו על ריבה חסודים אשר הגדל השם לעשות עמנו. That the Alter Rebbe says, I want to let to know to all of Hanash that the Eibusha did to us big, big chasodim. In other words, you shouldn't think it was just that I came out of jail, but the chasodim were spectacular. The chasodim were spectacular. Oh, thank you so much. So the story was that the Alter Rebbe, for the 53 days he was in jail, there was one chassid in Liozna that was so broken-hearted, he fasted every day. At night he would eat. He fasted every day. So you can imagine after fasting for 53 days, how schwach a person can become. And then the good news came that the Alter Rebbe, Baruch Hashem, is alive, and he was freed, and he's safe, and he can leave Peterburg. And it was in Liozna, they're waiting, it'll take a long time for the Alter Rebbe to come back. But the simcha was big. They said when the Alter Rebbe went to Petersburg, he was in a black carriage, so he couldn't see what was. But on the way back, he was treated like a king. And when he traveled, they traveled for hundreds and hundreds of miles, thousands of miles, from Petersburg to Liozna. So he said, when he looked around at the landscape, he said, "Oh, nu Esav tzachochnus gelernt." That Esav wasn't a fool, because the Chazal say in the Medrash that they made a deal that Yaakov is going to take the Olam Haba and Esav is going to take the Olam Haza. So Alter Rebbe smiled. They said, "Nush gefährlich." Esav got himself a nice piece for his bargain. So there was so the Chassid. The Chassid was very excited. Now the Chassidim didn't find out immediately when it happened. They found out that the Alter was already almost back in Lyozna. Came to Shul to celebrate, took l'chaim. You can imagine after fasting 53 days, what you don't have to take that much l'chaim to totally lose it. So he took some l'chaim and he was dancing, and then he went home. The way going home, he was shaken. He fell onto the floor, and he started snoring. The Alter Rebbe came with his wagon into town just then. The Alter Rebbe looked at this chos and he smiled. He said, "Da liegt the Gewirr von Lyozna." Everyone started laughing. This guy was his pants and his shirt and his jacket was taloi al gabei taloi, one patch over the other patch, and he was known as to be an oni ve'evyan. And the Alter Rebbe calls us. Everyone started laughing. But it wasn't a laughing matter. The Alter Rebbe said that's what happened. Next time was the Yechidus. The Alter Rebbe asked him what he does. He was a peddler. The Alter Rebbe said, "So where do you buy the schorah?" He said, "In the marketplace." And the people in the marketplace, where do they buy the schorah? He says, "They buy it in the big city." He says, "Why don't you go in the big city?" So the Alter Rebbe said, "Go to the big city." He went to the big city. Versteht sich, the Alter Rebbe told him to go to the big city. He said, "Gegangen, geschmiert." Came back. His business took off. Next time he came to Yechidus, the Alter Rebbe said, "Where do you buy?" The Rebbe told me to buy in the big city. And the merchants in the big city, where they buy? Oh, they buy it from Vitebsk. He says, "Why don't you buy it from Vitebsk?" "Go to Vitebsk." So he went to Vitebsk, and his business expands even more. Next time comes the Alter Rebbe says, "Where do you buy your merchandise?" "Vitebsk." "And where do the people in Vitebsk buy it from?" They buy it from Moscow. That's where they manufacture it. He says, "Why don't you buy it in Moscow?" "Go to Moscow." And by the way, when you're in Moscow, they say there's a fancy theater there. Make sure you visit there for at least one show. Okay. So the Alter Rebbe said, so Chassid does.
Led Zeppelin.
Led
Zeppelin was in Moscow.
So the Alter Rebbe said he has to go. So he went to show, but he was not interested. What is he going to do with the show? He had a little Tanya in his pocket. He had a few minutes. He used to open up a Tanya. So they started the show, and he was deep in his Tanya. He was learning his Tanya. He didn't know what was going on. So he didn't realize that the show was finished and everyone left. So the fellow, the custodian, was cleaning up, walks over, he says, "What are you doing here?" "I'm here for the show." He said, "The show is over. It's time to go home." "Well, what are you holding in your hand?" He said, "It's a Tanya." He gave the custodian, picked up the thing, wanted to look at the Tanya, and he looks and he turns all the pages, and he says, "Wow, what a terrific book." Okay. Chassid took the book, the Tanya, put it back in his pocket, and he went back. Came back to Alter Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe said, "No." So he said, "It was a big success." "And the theater, you went to the theater?" He said, "Yeah, I went." "No, how was the show?" He said, he told Alter Rebbe what happened. Alter Rebbe said, "Very good. That's what I was waiting for. I wanted to get a haskama from that fellow in the Tanya." So the Chassidim later had a machloikis. Yeshoimrim that he was a tzaddik nister. Alter Rebbe wanted his haskama. And Yeshoimrim that, come on, a tzaddik nisters hang out in Petersburg. In Moscow in a theater. They said, "No, it was the koiches of Leumazeh. It was Tuma." Well, what's the theater in Moscow? And the Alter Rebbe wanted to hear that even the Leumazeh came around to his side. That's why the Alter Rebbe was excited to hear, even from the Leumazeh he got a haskom. Okay. So the Alter Rebbe told in this letter that really the chesed from the Eibishter was a ribu chesadim. So therefore, again, let's go back to the beginning of the line, Anash. So the Alter Rebbe is saying, I want to let know the good news to Anash, ribu chesadim, asher higla shem latzas emon aleches, b'midois of Shal Yaakov, sheir am v'sheiris Yisrael, shemeiser atzmoi, kishirayim u'moiser smam, v'sheim b'shem tzorech. That now we have to hold on to the mid of Yaakov. The Yidden are called She'edis Yisrael. What does She'edis Yisrael mean? She'edis is like Shirayim. A Yid feels small, as if these leftovers, that we should feel small. Why? Because if we really experience a Chasadim De'ebish, then we recognize that the miracle of this liberation, that we went from the worst possibility, Chas Shalom, the worst of the worst, to the best of the best. So therefore, that means that we got the Eibishter's embrace. So therefore, we have to feel very humble. Because if Chas V'Shalom not, then that's like Yishmael when he feels Hashem's embrace. So therefore, the bottom line, the Alter Rebbe says, Levilti rum levavim achem, that the Chassidim shouldn't feel greater than their brothers, the Misnagdim. V'lo laharchiv aleim peh, not Chas V'Shalom to open their mouth against the Misnagdim. V'lo lisrik aleim, and not to whistle against them. Chas V'Shalom. Now, in other words, Alter Rebbe is saying, now Chassidim are going to go to the Beis Medrash and say to the Misnagdim, you tried to Rachmana litzlan do a Masira, and Rachmana litzlan put our Rebbe into out of business. Rachmana litzlan should be Heipach HaChaim, and now everything turned around. Chas v'shalom, has melahaskir, that Chas v'shalom such a thing should ever happen. Ba'azhora neirah, with a very strong Azhora. Rak lahashpil rucham or libam b'midas emes liYaakov. They should feel humble towards every Yid, like Yaakov Avinu. B'pnei kol adam b'nerichas ruach u'mayna rach meishav chema. And when you answer softly to someone, that takes away the anger. V'chulei v'leruach nicha v'chulei hai v'ulei. And maybe if we use this attitude, not only are we going to act like Yaakov Avinu, but then maybe we will also be successful. That Yitin Hashem b'leiv achem, that the Eibishter will put love in the heart of their brothers, kamayim upon him and upon him, like water reflects back to water. That if we're going to feel warm towards the Misnagdim, then the Misnagdim will feel good towards us, and they'll become Sholem al Yisrael.
Amen.
That was the letter of the Alter Rebbe. So fragt sich the Shaila. The Shaila back to, so now to summarize. So we have two pshatim in Katointi. We have the Rashi's pshat. Katointi means I might have chopped away from all my schusim, 10 pounds of schusim. I might have used up 9 pounds, I'm left only with 1 pound. That plus the chatoim, and I'm finished. Rachmana litzlan, I'm scared. The second pshat, Katointi, is the Alter Rebbe's pshat, that I feel small. I feel small, Katointi, I feel small because of all the chsadim the Eibishter made. The Rebbe points out that there's the difference of Rashi and the Alter Rebbe is really, in the case of Rashi is explaining why Yaakov was scared before he got the miracle. Alter Rebbe is talking about after he got the miracle, and he wrote to Chassidim how they should feel. Rashi is explaining why Yaakov is excusing himself that he's scared. Alter Rebbe is explaining why they shouldn't say boo-hoo to the Misnagdim, and they shouldn't whistle at them. But it comes to the same Nakuda. And not only does it come to the same Nakuda, but there's also the Alter Rebbe, it's mashma that the Alter Rebbe is trying to hint to something. What was it trying to hint at? And there's a Sefer Beis Rebbe, a very choshev chosid. Chaim Meir Helman is a chosid of the Tzemach Tzedek. He was like, one of the first Chassidim. There's a lot of books about Chassidim that are totally unreliable. Written by people who scoffed at Chassidim, simply eat nevelos of treifas, and there were maskilim, and the whole point of writing books of history of Chassidim was to mock at Chassidim. A lot of the words had Chassidish hoif. It doesn't come from Chassidim. Chassidim never called it a hoif. These were terminologies used by the maskilim to scoff at Chassidim. But this, one of the first authentic writers of Chassidic history, Chassidus Chabad, was this Chaim Meir Helman, who still knew Chassidim of the Alter Rebbe and the Mittler Rebbe. He wrote a Sefer Beis Rebbe. So in chapter 17, he brings a story. He says, everyone knows the story, but I heard it from, Pliny and Pliny, to verify the details of the story. He heard it from the Alter Rebbe, grandson of the Alter Rebbe, who told me he heard it from his grandfather. The story was like this, that the Alter Rebbe was in prison. And all of a sudden, he gets two visitors. The second visitor was the Maggid. He assumed that the Maggid is walking second, who's walking in front of him? It must be the Baal Shem Tov. And the Alter Rebbe asked, why do I deserve that I'm sitting here in prison? Why am I suffering? So they answered that because you are teaching Chassidus. So he said, and if I am successful to come out, should I continue? So they said, Adarab, if you can go out, then you know that you should teach even more. And the Beis Rebbe, he says that the Derech of the Alter Rebbe and Takonas Liyozna was that he would say a drush only on Shabbos, Mavorchim HaChodesh, and after he came out of Peterburg, he would say every Shabbos. And we know from the Rebbe Rashab, that it's not only a question of quantity, and also quality. It changed. That the money before Peterburg were very short and very poignant, but they were not so explanatory. But the since after Peterburg were very long, and they explained that very barichos. Okay, that's the difference of before and after Peterburg. And then the Alter Rebbe cried, and the Maggid said to the Alter Rebbe, "But he's spreading your Torah." So the Baal Shem Tov said, "Let me hear a Torah." The Alter Rebbe said the Maimer, which is in likkutei Torah, Mareim, Maseim, and when he finished the Maimer, the Baal Shem Tov said he says it word for word as I told it to you, to the Maggid. So the Maggid said, "No, I'm telling you, this guy is." The Alter Rebbe said, when they entered, the Maggid said, "Do is the Rebbe von Reisen," and the Alter Rebbe said he felt terrible. He felt so humbled. He felt so hurt. They're calling him a Rebbe. They're calling him a Rebbe. So then the Baal Shem Tov and the Maggid gave him a brocha and they left. So the Rebbe says that that's the pshat in the Kotointi, in the letter of Kotointi, that just like Yaakov Avinu had a haftochem of parshas from the Eibishter, and he was scared, Shemenis lachachti v'cheit. So also the Alter Rebbe, even though the Alter Rebbe had haftochem of parshas from the Baal Shem Tov and the Maggid at the end of that yechidas that he had, that he will be successful, still he was scared just like Yaakov Avinu. So the shaila remains, like everyone asked in the beginning, what kind of chet did Yaakov Avinu do? Which kind of chet? He was the Chatzadik from the Tanya. But what kind of chet? And the Alter Rebbe, what kind of chet? So the Rebbe, in short, the Rebbe says two pshat. One pshat is that when a person goes up in a high level in Kedusha, what was yesterday good, today is not so good. But that pshat is a little, because if yesterday I did something which is on the edge, you could say yesterday it's not considered a sin, but today it's. But if yesterday I did everything perfect, so the second pshat that the Rebbe gives is from the Ponim Yofis. Ponim Yofis is the older friend, one of the oldest Talmidim of the Heilige Maggid, which is the Pinchas Horowitz, the Afloa, wrote the Sefer Ponim Yofis on Chumash. And he wrote that Tzadikim, the Yelchu, Mechal, Al-Choyel, Eimah, Menucha, they're always going up. There's a concept of Gadlus Rishon and Gadlus Sheni. But in between Gadlus Rishon and Gadlus Sheni, there's Katnus Sheni. There's Katnus Sheni. So there's, similar to what the Alter Rebbe says in the Chinuch Kotten, that Sheva Yipel Tzadik V'kom, that Tzadik is always going up. But there isn't just going up. It's like the Rebbe gives a moshel for this. A person understands something, understands a Gemara, Rashi, Tosfos. You think you understand the Sugya very well. All of a sudden you have a kasha, another kasha. I understand nothing. Understand nothing. So you're going to say that now I understand nothing. So me and the boy that didn't learn Aleph Beis yet, the same thing. I understand nothing in the Sugya, and he understands nothing. True, we both understand nothing in the Sugya, but there's a difference of my understanding nothing and his understanding nothing. All right? So even in the Katnus Sheni, It's not that the person is nothing. And that's what the Alter Rebbe talks about in the introduction, in the Chinuch Kotten. The Alter Rebbe says that there is an anchor that a Yid has in Avodas Hashem, even when he goes up. There's always a Yid falls. There's no such thing as no fall. No one goes up like this straight in Avodas Hashem. If you think you're always going up this way, you're in the wrong country, because that's not the landscape in Kedusha. The landscape in Kedusha never goes up like this. There's always dips. It never goes straight up. However, in Avodas Hashem, the Alter Rebbe says that there is an anchor. There is the Kabbalah soil that he learned at young age. Even when he falls, he doesn't dip all the way, but he falls. He falls. So therefore, there is a person has to be special shmida in the time that he falls. Therefore, by Yaakov Avinu, he had certain milas when he was in Chutz La'aretz, but now he's going back to Eretz Yisrael. Now he's in the threshold between Chutz La'aretz and Eretz Yisrael. It's like the step between Gadlus Rishon and Gadlus Sheni. So he's scared that maybe now he's in decline. So now that's a chet. Chet doesn't always mean a sin. Chet could also mean v'hoya, like we had in the Haftarah recently. Ani Shlema b'ni chatoyim. Me and Shlema, my son, will be chatoyim. What do you mean? They were sinners. That means we'll be lacking. We'll be lacking. Chet could also mean lacking. Now that I'm so close to the Eibishter, Kirvas Elokim, my Avodas Hashem is expected to be higher, and I'm lacking. Chet doesn't necessarily mean over here a sin. It means compared to this great revelation, this Gadol Sheni that I should be, and I'm in a ditch. So therefore, Yaakov Avinu had that fear. And the same thing, the Alter Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe was the same thing. The Rebbe Rashab said that it's hard to say, but he said it's similar to Chazal say, that if you take olives and you squeeze them, that's when the Alter Rebbe, when he was squeezed, the beautiful oil came out and it was shining afterwards beautifully. That's why after Peterburg was great. So the Rebbe says, if you think about the mashal for a moment, olives, great. You can have olives with lox and pickles. It's gewaldig, right? You can have a good shalom zocha with this. And then if you have oil, it's great. Olive oil you could use for the menorah. But what could you do with olives while they're being squeezed? They're not olives and they're not oil. So without it, before Peterburg was once a month a maimer, small maimer, but there were maimer burning the world. They were doing something. They were not changing the world or burning the world, but they were doing something to the world. After Peterburg, every Shabbos a maimer, long maimer. Not only it wasn't burning the world, it was changing the world. Great. But what was when he was in Peterburg and he was in jail? He wasn't teaching Chassidus. Not teaching Chassidus is not a side nekuda like Avram Avinu when he couldn't do Achnos Orchim. Wasn't he had Agmas Nefesh to his core because his whole thing is Midas HaChesed. Avram Avinu, it's the same thing the Alter Rebbe. His Inyan is to teach Pnimius HaTorah. So when he was so this was somewhere. This was like between Gadlus Rishon and Gadlus Sheni. There was nothing. So therefore it was like a chet Meloshen Chesaron. So therefore the Alter Rebbe felt similar to just like the Yaakov Avinu when he was in the threshold between Gadlus Rishon and Gadlus Sheni, that he was scared of the chet Meloshen Chesaron. The same thing the Alter Rebbe when he was in jail in Peterburg. The bottom line in Avodas Hashem, it happens many times that we go up, and then all of a sudden we fall. So you have to realize that falling is part of the going up. That's just like happened by Yaakov Avinu, and just like it happened by the Alter Rebbe. And the bottom line is that there is a concept of a Nasi, which is Nitzutza Shel Yaakov Avinu, and every year comes Yutas Kislev, that the Tzaddik, that the Alter Rebbe is Moirer on us, that in our Avodas Hashem, even if there is katointi, even if we are falling, that it doesn't matter. The Eibishter promised us, that in our Avodas Hashem, every Yid is trying to go up, and even if Chas v'Shalom there is what it is, it seems to be a setback. It doesn't matter. The Yaakov Avinu in our behalf talks to the Ribono Shel Olam and asks that he should keep his avtocha, that we should have atzloch in Avodas Hashem, we should have a geula of our own golus and have a geula of the big golus of Klal Yisrael with Mashiach Tzidkeinu.
Amen.
think that